Okay, then I'm happy to welcome Edda from Carbfix on stage. Yeah, well, I think most of you by now have heard and understood a bit the history of how it came that we finally ended up collaborating. I remember well when we were, well, first year, I think it was 2016, beginning of 2017. In the beginning, March 2017, we shook hands and agreed to install a first pilot demonstrator. About 6 months later, it was operational. And yeah, so for me, this has been like really an enabling factor. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been possible to do everything what we've done here. And I think many of the people here are really interested in learning a bit how it works. We've spoke a lot about it, injecting CO2 on the ground, turning it into stone, and I think you're the best person to explain. So let's start with that.
Thank you, Jan. I actually brought props to explain how it works, if I can open this box. So basically what we at Carbfix do is that we imitate and accelerate a process that's already happening within nature and has been happening for millions of years. We turn CO2 into stone through mineral reactions with the CO2 and reactive rock formations. And if you look here behind you, you can see underneath the moss we have basaltic lava. Basalts are actually one of the most common rock types on Earth. And what we do, we dissolve CO2 in water, create sparkling water. This goes into the basaltic formations. And then gradually, we have metals in the basalt reacting with the dissolved CO2 to form new minerals. And this is an example of that. This beautiful piece of rock is called Iceland spar. It's calcium carbonate, and it contains solidified carbon. Typically, when we inject CO2, we do not have these nicely, huge crystals forming, but it's exactly the same chemical composition as we have embedded in this piece of rock. And here you see the gray material. It's exactly the same rock as we have here behind us. It's basalt, and embedded in the pores and fractures of the basalt, you have these white minerals. And in just 2 years, the CO2 that we receive from Climeworks transforms to stone permanently. So it's out of picture. We don't have to think about it anymore.
Super, thank you, Edda. Maybe one other question that I very often receive is, well, how safe is this? How durable is this? And how can I really believe that it actually works? And what me personally has impressed a lot is when I learned of how long you have been doing this and about the whole history and the scientific background on this. Do you want to give us some more insight on that?
Yes, Mayor Eggertsson Dagur, he already referred to our collaboration with the scientific community. And actually the history of Carbfix dates back to 2006, and the project was formally founded in 2007. We have from the very beginning, as I said, actively collaborated with the scientific community, mainly the University of Iceland, also Columbia University and CNRS in France, and other research institutions as well. And for example, we have Siggi here with us today. He's been he's over there. Hi, Siggi. He's actually one of the founding fathers of Carbfix. And what we've done, we've thoroughly done the lab work. We've thoroughly monitored what happens after we inject the CO2. We have very robust data sets, and all of them are accessible in the public domain. And this is, of course, very important when we are introducing new technologies, that we can have full transparency of the results, of the pilot phase, of the scale-up phase, and so forth. So this is the way we have been doing things, and this is the way we will continue to work.
So we spoke a lot about scaling up today. We told about our plans. What are Carbfix plans?
Oh, we're going for the scale as well, absolutely. And of course, partnership with Climeworks, other potential DAC companies, is part of that vision. the Carbfix process, it doesn't matter where the CO2 comes from. All we need is a source of CO2, and in the case of Orca, that's Climeworks. We need basalt, we need water. And we are working on our scale-up concept in sort of 3 parallel pathways. Partnership with DAC being one of them. Also, building more projects like we have here at this particular power plant, where we capture CO2 directly at the source, at the chimney, and this is then injected into nearby basaltic formations. And if this is not possible, then we add a transport link to the overall chain. And actually the biggest project we're working on is such a project where we will capture at the source in various parts of the world, most likely Northern Europe, and the CO2 will then be brought to Iceland in ships. So it's really 3 parallel pathways because all of those actions are needed for success in avoiding climate catastrophe.
Well, and I'll end this with a more personal question. If you look at today, this moment, what would you say, what does it mean for you? What does it mean for Carbfix? And also, what does it mean for Iceland?
Well, I mean, for me and the Carbfix team, we are just extremely proud. And I think it was either you or Christoph that said that you can, pinpoint the Climeworks in the group because of the, happiness in their eyes. And the same goes for the Carbfix team. So we are extremely proud that we are making this happen. And we are extremely proud how quickly we've come to this point. I mean, it's just 5 years since we became aware of each other. So I think this is really an excellent example of how can we rapidly bring new solutions online. For Iceland, of course, it's just marvelous that we are sort of taking the stage in this type of new climate industry. We have a new customer for our new renewable energy, so we are extremely happy to be part of this event here today.
Thank you very much, Edda.